super excited to be on the stage with a lot of the apps that I use personally on a daily basis and some of the great marketers behind them. So Jane, thank you so much for inviting me to speak here. And when James first mentioned the topic, how to grow your app in a niche category, I thought, oh, this would be easy. Until about 3 days ago, I really started thinking about what I'm going to talk about, especially the section that this topic is placed in. After you heard about all the tactics and the hacks in ASO, and when you're going to hear about retention. So what should I talk about in this specific section for tracking users, not installs? So I figured I'd just share with you some of the learnings over my career as a marketer working directly for brands. Some of the things that I learned, overarching themes that helped me and my colleagues drive brand growth, drive app download growth, actually really building that category. And surprisingly, they have nothing to do with numbers or charts. Just a little bit about myself. I'm heading direct marketing at Dashlane. What is Dashlane? So if you don't know, yes, definitely, I'm here to talk about niche category, right? So if you are writing down your passwords on a piece of paper or sticky notes, or if you're saving them in the Notes app on your iPhone, then you should come talk to me after this talk, or you should really find our app in the App Store. So we are a password manager. It's definitely a niche category. I can see from some of the guilty faces here when I mentioned writing the passwords down. The category's been around for a long time, but it's still not known for a lot of people. So I'll use some examples of how we grow this category, how we handle competition in the category as a latecomer in my talk. And then before Dashlane, I was heading UA for Zipcar for their North America markets. Again, Zipcar 15 years ago was also developing a niche category. So again, like I said, just a few overarching themes that I've learned over the years. So before I start, I want to mention and actually clarify one thing. What is the niche category? What are we talking here? You can say, is Christian Mingle a niche? Yeah, sure. What about Facebook when they first started? Yeah, MySpace was there, but there wasn't anything close to Facebook. Uber? Yeah, it was a niche. But if you're developing games for kids, is that niche? Yeah, sure. I also have this good friend that used to work for this company called CoPatient. It's an app where you can upload your medical bills, and they have customer service will be calling the hospitals and your doctors and negotiating the bill for you. So you can save 30-40% on your medical bills. How do you market an app like that, right? So is that a niche? But there's a distinct difference between these apps. So one is marketing a niche audience within a traditional category. The other is really developing a niche category, a new market, solving a new problem that nobody has thought about before. The reason why it's very important, before I go into my talk, to make this distinction is that there are totally different marketing challenges for the two categories. One, if you're marketing to a niche audience in a traditional category, you're basically taking a slice from a pie. That pie already is there. If you're marketing Christian Mingle, there are already many years of history of marketing dating apps out there that you can learn and people that you can talk to. The playbook is right there. So you just need to learn how to make it applicable to what the audience that you're trying to attract. But if you're developing a niche category, I hope some of you are here and trying to be the next Uber, then there's no market. Where do you even start, right? And then the other way to look at this is that, as marketers, especially if you're trying to market a new app, nobody has heard of, and in a niche category that you don't get tons of search volume in the App Store. It's challenging because as marketer, we know that the first place you go to is search, right? And here, if you're on the left-hand side, if I'm trying to come up with a competitor against Zappos, I go to Google search, and there's enough search volume for shoes. All I have to do is be really, really good at playing the search game. Then I'll get my app to the first 50,000 and first 100,000 users. But if I'm developing a new category, a niche category, I use the example of Zipcar on the right-hand side, and this was definitely a challenge when I got there, is that there's no search volume for the category. If you're successful developing the category, you end up being the category. If somebody comes in to try to take market share from Zipcar, then they will have to be really, really good at something else but not search, because it's going to be very, very expensive to bid on Zipcar's brand keywords. So after all this, you start to feel like it's really, really a unique challenge to develop a niche category. It almost feels like you're in this jungle. Think about, put yourself in the shoes of Facebook back in 2005, and Zipcar back in 2000, or Uber when they first came out. Where do you even go? So everyone can use my app, everybody can benefit from it, but how do I even start? Versus you are targeting a niche audience, you feel like, okay, there's a path there, and I can just follow along the marketers before me. But I would say that it's actually will be very rewarding if you could crack the nut and be able to develop a niche category, because once you do, you own it, right? So I hope some of you actually come to the talk today having that question in your head, like how do I do this, and what are the things that I can take away back to my developers or my colleagues. So if you do find yourself in the jungle, what do you do? So interesting that so all the talks that we have heard about optimization, LTV, and understanding user, they all are very true, right? You have to be really, really good at basic fundamental marketing principles. And you also have to be able to test quickly, be nimble, move quickly. But what I found, what I want to focus on today is beyond those tactics that you've learned, and you're going to learn for the rest of the day. I wanted to think about, to share with you one thing that's been driving a lot of the decisions in my career, marketing niche category products, is that purpose. And why is that? Because you're trying to develop your own path, and you're trying to solve a problem that no one has solved before. So you have to be really, really clear about your purpose. And it will show through your design, it will show through your marketing, messaging, it will show through every marketing practices. Even it will show through your negotiation discussion with your marketing partners. And it will save you a lot of time. So every marketing team will probably be testing 6, 7, 8, 10, 20 partners every month. If you are clear on your purpose, it will help you to narrow down to the ones that have much higher likelihood to succeed for you. And it will also help your marketing partners to help you get the users, not just the installs, right? So what it boils down to, 3 components to your purpose. This is definitely not new knowledge here. So the first one is, what's the problem you're trying to solve, right? And then the second is, who will be your best users? So I hope once you already have an app, even though it's a niche category, you probably should already figure this out. Use Dashlane as an example. We were trying to solve the problem of people are forgetting their passwords all the time, and everybody has tons of logins to manage, and it's really getting out of control for everyone. And in theory, yeah, our app is good. It can be used for anyone, and that's our user. And the third component here is what do you want from your user in exchange for the value you provide in the app. The reason why this third component is very important is that at different stage of your app development and your app growth, this could change. And because this changes, and it will determine sometimes who your best users will be at this moment of time. And sometimes can even decide the problem you're trying to solve, because I'm sure that no apps is only solving one single problem, and then different throughout your product life cycle, you're reposition yourself and trying evolve over time. So I'm going to use Dashlane, like I said, again, to show you how this principle and mindset help us to grow our app and then get to 7 million users in a short 3-4 years. So like I was saying earlier, our purpose is to make identity and payments simple and secure. So simple is very important for us. And we are trying to solve your password problem, which everyone has. However, at this stage of our app, we're actually looking for the third component. Remember, I was saying before, we're looking for revenue from users. So we're asking money in exchange of this value we're providing. So because of that, and throughout numerous testing, we realized that actually our best targeted user segment is older and affluent. This comes as a surprise to a lot of marketing partners that I work with, and they always first say, "Oh, tech savvy," or younger demographics, because they're going to be more receptive to your product. But actually, no. Through a lot of testing, and the theory is proven true that older users. I'm sure a lot of you guys are a little bit puzzled by that. But because we are very, very clear about at this stage of our app what we're looking to get from our users, we're able to stick to the core demographic and targeting that we are looking for. And this will change over time. It's already changing for us. But I'll show you how this is impacting our design, marketing, and distribution channels. So first, design. Again, simple, right? So this category, again, is about your sensitive data. It's about changing a behavior, making some things already complicated, but you kind of have a system for, and changing that behavior to a completely new way of managing your passwords and trusting this app. So it's very important that we keep it simple. And it's also very important because of the demographic I was mentioning, right? The user that we're targeting. We can't make it complicated. We can't make it frictional for older demographics. So that affects our design. And then how it's affecting our messaging. Many of you, especially people who are developing new categories, you might try different messaging. There's so many different features and things you can do with your app. Why don't I try, talking about this and talking about that? And, there are many, many promises. Basically, you're trying to make it to your consumers and see which sticks, right? We've been there. We've done that. But at the end of the day, we realize that, and this is so different, again, than when you're marketing a traditional category, just a niche audience. This is very, very different. I've learned this in 2 different brands, that at the end of the day, after years of testing, it is that purpose that you promise your customers that eventually will stick. And for us, is what the problem that we're solving for them is helping them with this pain point in their life of managing passwords and having to forget it from time to time. And that moment of pain when you don't remember what it was and you try and log in and you're logged out of your website. So holding on to that messaging has worked for us. And these Facebook ads drive thousands of installs, tens of thousands of installs for us every month. How does that help us determine the distribution channels? Again, the users that we're looking for, right? It is older. Where are they? Right? They're on Facebook. They're on Twitter. That's where we first started. And we saw tremendous success. And before then, we tried tons of different other partners, and it didn't help. And then right now, when we are talking to mobile ad networks, and when we talk to partners, the first thing that we want to mention is, can you help us get to the audience that we wanted to get to? How do you know? What are data points that you have to show you that these group of users are the ones that we're looking for? So that helps us to drive a lot of conversations with partners and helps them to understand our marketing strategies, and help really save us a lot of time talking to the wrong partners. And obviously, radio influencer, a lot of people are testing into this, but it is expensive, right? And takes a longer time to learn, and also it's not a guarantee. It's not Facebook can turn on and off as you please. Because we know the demographics that the subset of the users that we're honing into, that we're going after, because we're so confident in the promises, in the messaging that we are going to deliver, and also because we're so confident in the design, in the value that the app will be providing once they try our apps for the first 5 minutes, that we have actually seen great success in influencer marketing, in radio, for our app, even though our app's really not that expensive. And we may be able to make it ROI positive. So that's how we use the mindset, the purpose mindset to drive the Dashin app. And then I want to leave with you guys with this last slide. One of my favorite slides from Simon Sinek. I love his speeches, and then he's a great thinker, author, and speaker. So this is his product journey or product life cycle, and probably many of you have seen it. So again, it applies perfectly to a innovation technology, or again, the topic here, niche category. So you have your initial innovators, 2.5% there, that would adopt your app right away because they probably already waiting for something like this, right? They thought about it themselves already, and they just didn't have time to develop it themselves. So those are the people that you're going to get first. And then you have your early adopters, are the people that are, they weren't thinking about something like this, but they're very, very receptive to this messaging. And your initial stage, if you're trying to get your first 5,000 users, your first 50,000 users, that's probably the audience that you're looking after. But it's very, very important, again, to at this stage think about who is the threes, right? Who is your best user, and what the problem you're trying to solve for them with your app, the way it is currently today. A lot of people get lost in the big vision of what we want to be in 10 years, and they lose sight of what we really can do today and the promises that we can give to our customers today. So it's very, very important as your product and app go through this journey and then be able to stick to the purpose. And the purpose might change, right? The three components might change over time, but it's very, very important that everyone in your organization is aligned and agree on this. And I'm sure you will get users to use your product versus just installs. And that's all. That's my talk.